Hey everyone, I'm Anthony Matos, and this is BNEWS Sports Hub. On this episode, we sit down with the head coach of boys lacrosse, Brenden Maney, and junior captain Nolan Jennings. We also have our player spotlight and our Red Devil review. That's all right here, right now, on this month of BNEWS Sports Hub. So to jumpstart our conversation, we will offer you a little refresher of the team. BNEWS Sports reporter Robert Paris has your Red Devil review.
Hey everyone, I'm Robert Paris, and this is your Red Devil review. Over the past few years, lacrosse has been a sport that has grown in popularity nationwide. Burlington is no exception. The Red Devil lacrosse team continues to grow under the direction of Brenden Maney, who is in his 6th year. The team has found success under his leadership, and in the last 2 years, they have won their Middlesex League Freedom Division for the first time since 2003. Maney is a 1990 graduate from Winchester High School and played 4 years of lacrosse there. He attended UMass Lowell for 2 years before transferring to UMass Boston, where he joined the lacrosse team for 2 seasons. In 2023, Burlington finished 13-5. They had a rough start to the season with back-to-back losses against Winchester and Reading. But then the team found momentum and went on a 10-game winning streak. The team also scored a total of 248 goals in 23. Top scorers in the net were Nolan Jennings with 42, Charlie Andriolo 38, and Jason Kane and Jonathan Jay were tied at 37. The team went on to compete in the D2 MIAA playoff tournament, coming up in the 12th seed as they battled Westfield High School in the round of 32, winning the game 17-7. Burlington was outplayed by Baroka Memorial, ending their season in the Sweet 16 round. 6 seniors departed from the team in 2023. However, 12 starters and top scorers returned this spring. This year, the team started out the season in similar fashion with back-to-back losses against Reading Memorial and Acton Boxborough. Shortly after, Burlington was in rhythm again, winning 9 straight games. Burlington closed out the regular season with a 14-4 record and were ranked 6th out of 61 teams in the Division III MIAA Power Rankings. In the playoffs, the Devils competed in 3 matchups. Martha's Vineyard Regional came to Varsity Field in the round of 32, with Burlington defeating them in a blowout of 17-5. Burlington won 6-5 over Dragut in the Sweet 16 round, and the Devils came face-to-face with the 3rd seed Falmouth, who finished their season at 15-4. The South Shore team put a stake in the Devils' hearts as they ended their season 18-9. On another note, senior captain Charlie Andriolo was accepted to Endicott College in the fall, where he will continue his career on the football field. In our interview with Coach Maney, he said Charlie was a force to be reckoned with when facing opponents on the field. Here's a feature we did with Charlie a couple months ago. 2023 senior football captain and lineman Charlie Andriolo will be going to Endicott College, as he will be continuing his career on the playing field for football.
Once I heard about Endicott, I heard nothing but good things. One of my coaches went there and he said he loved it, so I looked around the campus, loved the place, great business program, which is what I want to do, and obviously amazing football program, and they really have a strong brotherhood there. Is what I was looking for in a team, so that made my decision pretty easy.
He has learned a lot from all of his coaches, including head coach of Red Devil football, George Balian.
He really just made me grow as a person. He kind of maybe developed me into who I am, and then obviously as a line, he's a defensive genius. He got me moving laterally and really helped me use my speed to my advantage, which I think which is going to help me in the next level, and then obviously in the weight room in the summer, teaching me everything I know and making me the kid I am today.
As he wraps things up as a Red Devil, Charlie will reminisce everything here at BHS. But he said, all good things must come to an end.
Senior year sports, always fun. Sad to see him go. Football, the best season I've ever played out of every single sport, and it sucked to see it go, and now I'm starting hockey again, and we'll be going to senior night for that, and I've played hockey since I was 6 or 7, so it's going to be tough to see that go. Same thing when lacrosse comes by, but it's good. It's good to all good things come to an end, and I think this is going to be the season, the year to end all years, as I'd say, and go off on a high note.
Andriolo is excited to see what the future holds for him as an Endicott Gull.
I'm looking for the new experience. I mean, I've been living a day-to-day routine every single day for the past 4 years, and this is something out of the ordinary, meeting a bunch of new people, have 100 new friends off the bat on the football team, and obviously just continuing to play football. And that's what I wanted to do since day one. And now that I got the opportunity to, I'm excited, super excited.
From Burlington High School, I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS Sports. Charlie Andriolo has departed from the team alongside senior captain James Ellis, Liam Welch, Trey Demore, and Mitch DeVoe. Also, Charlie Hannafin has not returned to BHS as he will be attending a private school. In total, the team scored 286 goals this year. That's 38 more goals than last year. Top scorers at the net were Jennings, who scored 65 goals, in comparison to 42. Jake Sloan has made the list with 38 goals. Charlie Hannafin scored 34, his brother Dan had 59, and Andriolo added 45 compared to 38 last season. A few of these goal scorers will be returning next spring, so it will be exciting to see what they will bring to the table. I want to congratulate the entire team on all their hard work they have put in at Varsity Field this season. And that is all for your Red Devil Review. I'm Robert Paris. Back to you, Anthony.
All right, boys lacrosse coach Brenden Maney. Coach, how are we today?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yeah, it's school year's winding down, season's over. It's going to be nice and hot out, so I'm ready.
Yeah, and let's just kick right into it. You guys finished 14-4. What does that mean to you?
So one of the nice things about having been around the game is knowing that there's kind of a ebb and flow to a season. I know at the beginning of the season, the whole June seems so far away. It's freezing cold in March, and for lots of April too. But and it seems so far away, and you have 2 weeks of preseason, and you're like, well, you can't wait to get to that first game. And then there's 18 games on the schedule, and then at the end, it feels like it was all in the blink of an eye. So to be able to put together more wins than losses, it's always kind of a triumph in any situation. And I know that a couple of the losses that we had this year, first game out against Reading, it was a 1-goal loss where we had the ball at the end and we had an opportunity to tie it. We actually had the lead in that game. So it was a game that we knew that we could have won had we made a few more plays. Unfortunately, Reading did. The second loss was to Acton Boxborough, and they kind of just ran us off the field, kind of from first whistle to last whistle. Not really a competitive game. But again, that's a very good team. They are a quality opponent year in and year out, and we know that. And so it's good to see that regardless of outcome is where that level is that we need to be. And that was good for us. And then we were able to put together a couple wins. And then we played Drake-It, and they played a zone, and we struggled with it, and we couldn't figure it out. Again, we had the ball at the end, and it was just a situation where we couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And I know that stuck with them for the whole season. And then we went on, I think it was a 10-game run there where we able to win a whole bunch of Middlesex League games, which was nice. And then we ended up playing Winchester, and we ended up losing that game by, I think it was 3 goals. But one of the nice things about that game is that it was a competitive back and forth, and every time that Winchester tried to pull away, our guys were able to battle back and just kind of claw all the way. We couldn't claw all the way back, but it was again nice to see them be able to compete against a really strong opponent for full quarters. And it was so even though the score went to 5 at one point, we were able to pull it back to 2 or 3 on maybe 2 or 3 different times, which is not always easy to do against a really good quality opponent like Winchester. And I think that really helped set the stage for being able to be competitive. I know there were a number of times this year, like against Cohasset, early on we were down at halftime by 3 or 4 goals, and I think we came out and we won the second half like 7-1, and so we ended up winning that game, I think 8-9, and then same thing with the Lexington game. We were down 4-2 at halftime, and then we came out in the third quarter, and I think we scored like 7 or 8 goals, like in real quick succession, and that was. I think it was a hallmark of the team that they could score so quickly and that they were really resilient. And like in the face of kind of what would feel like insurmountable leads or the flow of the game was not going our way, they kind of just always stuck with it, and they had this kind of even keel about them that allowed them to kind of persevere in tough moments and just kind of like keep going. Like it didn't matter if we were up by a ton or down by too many, or if we had lost like 4 or 5 ground balls in a row. The next play was the next play, and then they kind of expected to have success, and it kind of and there was that quiet confidence about them that it showed up on the field and showed up in the scoreboard, and they were a great group of great team, really good team. I think that. At the end, they probably don't feel well about the totality of the last game, but I know that they all tried their hardest, like the entire game and all season long. And it's difficult, especially at the end there when the only teams that are left are good teams. And so that if you have even like a bad quarter or a bad half, it becomes very difficult to come back from that. But even at the end, all the way at the end, I know that I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but even we were down by like 6 or 7 goals. I mean, I think that, I know our staff, we felt like we were kind of always in it. We just needed to get that next goal. And then once we got 1 goal, it was like, okay, we can get the next one. We had a great face-off guy in Jake Sloan, and that we knew that if we could put the ball in the back of the net, that Jake would give us an opportunity to get the ball back and play a little make it, take it lacrosse. And then having Quinn in net, really, Quinn McDonald, he really came along his junior year and became a problem for other teams to have to solve, which is, as a coach, it's always great to know that you have a strong goalkeeper, someone in net that can make the saves, and then once they make the saves, we can score to get the ball back with a face-off guy. And so Quinn and Jake kind of gave us that confidence. And like I said, even at the end there against Falmouth, when we were down by a whole bunch of goals, we knew that like if we could just get 1 or 2 or 3, that we could get that momentum back. And it wasn't even until about halfway through the fourth where I think we were like, oh, it feels like it's a little bit unreachable. But it wasn't until, like I said, near the end of the fourth quarter that we felt like maybe things had gotten away from us. I think we went like almost a full half without scoring a goal. Falmouth did a really good job, and they capitalized on all of our mistakes. But yeah, great group of guys.
And what do you think contributed the most to the team's success this year?
Well, I think that they dedicated themselves early on. Like I remember hearing Nolan talk about last year them watching the state championship games here in Burlington on the field, and it was like a motivating factor. And they knew that they had the quality of athleticism and they had the quality of play that could allow them to get there if they dedicated themselves. And one of the things is, like, you can't just be good. You have to be good, and you have to have some luck as well. And so they took care of the dedication, they took care of the good. And then in the end, we just didn't get lucky enough. And then they worked hard. They worked hard all season long, and we got better in many different aspects, which was always great. Like, you love to see them win. Winning is so much fun. It makes everything worthwhile. The cold days, the hot days, the long practices, and that dedication, the hard work. And then I do think that they They really are. They were a really good team. And there was some great leadership too. We had a small senior class. Charlie Andriola was a 2-year captain for us as a senior. He was a offensive lineman. He was a defensive hockey player, and then he was an attackman for us on lacrosse. So it's kind of and he's this really big kid that he gets off the bus and it's like, oh my God, this kid's he's very large and he's very talented. And for a kid that big to have that kind of soft hands and ability to impose his will. He was like a nightmare for other teams when he was at his best. He really was a true nightmare. And then on the other side of the field, we had James Ellis, another senior, who kind of ran the defense. It was nice to be able to have someone out there that you can trust to make in-game corrections and kind of make up for other problems that happened during the game. He is a gifted athlete. One of the pure joys of watching him play is when he would get the ball in our defensive zone and he was just so fast. He's such a fast, strong athlete that he would just like outrun players up the field. And it was just so nice that you'd see 3 or 4 guys trying to take an angle and converge on him, and he was just too quick and fast and strong. And so even when they did get to him, he was able to go right through them. And then we had a couple of seniors join. One senior who joined his senior, did just this year. It was his only year of playing, Mitch DeVoe. And he showed up in March, never played before. And then our last game, he spent the whole second half of the game in close defense playing. That's how much he had progressed. And it was just fantastic to see. Liam Welch, another senior who played freshman year and then did other sports in the spring and then came back for his senior year. And that was great too. He was able to provide a lot of support in defense for us. And talk about imposing. I think he's like 6'5". He's a huge kid. And then Trey DeMore, who was our 5th senior, and we missed him last year because he was coming off of a knee injury because he's such a great skier that he ended up hurting his knee while skiing up there in Killington. And it was nice to see him come back and kind of work his way back in. And he was our kind of utility infielder, for lack of a better term. We put him in as attack. We put him anywhere at attack, anywhere at midfield, and he was really just a really nice addition. He was great in practice. There was nothing. I mean, I think that if we had asked him to play goalie, he would have been like, absolutely. He was just so willing to help out, and he just wanted to play. And he did so much, and so little of it showed up in the scorebook. But it was this idea that having that comfort of knowing that if anything went wrong, a player got injured, for whatever reason, we could put Trey in and we wouldn't miss a beat. And it was just so nice to have that kind of comfort level. So I think those 5 seniors really helped. Like I said, a couple of them were new, and then a couple of them were kind of like anchors on the offense and the defense. And then in the midfield, we had our juniors, Charlie Hannafin, who is just so talented, and Nolan Jennings, our 2 captains. And then, like I said, I mentioned Jake Sloan, who took the face-offs, and he ran our offense too. So, yeah, juniors at the midfield and the seniors at the either end. And then, and Quinn, the junior in net, who's coming back for a senior year, an all-star.
Yeah, and it was your second Middlesex League title. What does that mean to you, and then what does that mean to you?
So again, it's one of those things that are, it's an outcome of their talent and their dedication. There were a couple of opportunities during the year. Like I said, during the Lexington game, we were down at halftime. During the Melrose game, I think we were down at halftime as well. And those were, in Middlesex League opponents who we had to overcome adversity and win out. And again, because they were so dedicated and they're so talented, and they were such a good team that they were able to do that. And I imagine that this will be something that they can look back on and, you know, have a lot of pride in, is that they were able to do that back to back. And the Middlesex League is fairly difficult, especially at the top. A lot of talent to try to overcome. We weren't able to beat Reading, we weren't able to beat Winchester, but we gave them both a good scare. So, and I think that next year, this junior class is ready to kind of take that next step. Mm-hmm. They've really been like a keystone to this run, this mm-hmm. success, this back-to-back. Each year they've gone a little bit deeper into the playoffs, and it's like if the trajectory holds, then, you know, next season, you know, it'd be nice to go a step or two or three further on, because and they're good enough, and that's mm-hmm. the thing. They're good enough, and they work hard enough that they should have that. They should be able to have that opportunity again, to put themselves in a good position to have those opportunities, have those chances, mm-hmm. And they've kind of forced their way into the conversation about you know, good, talented teams that you have to worry about, you have to be prepared for. I know that in the Middlesex League, other coaches are like, well, what are we going to do about Burlington this year? What are we going to do? And that's because of the talented players who have kind of forced the issue and not allowed other teams to try to like reclaim or step into and take those opportunities. Yeah, it's really nice. It's humbling to be able to coach them. They're so, and they're great kids too. Like, they're just so good. Such good kids.
Yeah, and you had a ton of blowouts this season, Waltham, Watertown, Wilmington, Wakefield. Was there a sense of momentum in those games, do you think?
It was, so a sense of inevitability. And it's not because those other teams aren't good, it's just that they are, in some ways, they're rebuilding. I know that like the Watertown team is in a rebuilding situation. They have been for a while, but like and it takes time. And if you don't have the athletes, it makes it even more difficult. You need athletes, you need depth, you need all of those things kind of working together. And then, so the Watertown game, they struggled. Waltham, it was actually, I think it was like 5-1 at halftime. And so the outcome at the end was a little bit lopsided, but for a while there, it was, I know at halftime we were talking, it's like, we're like one goal away from this being a 3-goal game. And then again, kind of like they didn't play a perfect first half, Burlington, and then they came out in the second half and they got one and they got another, and they kind of clamped down on defense, and then we started winning all the loose ball possessions, and it's like getting a offensive rebound or a defensive rebound in basketball. It's you prevent them from having a second shot, and you give yourself another shot. Mm-hmm. In Bedford, same thing. I know Bedford they're kind of on the way down through no other reason than they just had they graduated a couple of years ago, a really talented group of players, and they just haven't been able to rebuild yet, but they'll be back. So I think it was, like I said, it was a matter of us being really strong. And then we had a lot of good goal scorers too as well. It's one thing to be good, and then it's another thing to be able to put the ball in the back of the net. And we just had a few guys that they did it so well. They really did. We had more than 4 or 5 players with over 50 points. We had 2 or 3 players with over 50 goals, and that's, again, like, it makes it really easy to coach really good players.
Yeah, you guys had 3 playoff games. Martha's Vineyard first round, 17-5. How did that big win start this playoff run?
Well, it was nice. We knew that it was going to be very difficult for Martha's Vineyard, not because of their quality of team, but rather they had to get on a boat, travel across to get to the mainland, and then take a bus all the way up here to Burlington
To lose by 12 goals.
Right, and then all we had to do was come down from school and play a lacrosse game, which is so much easier if that's your only problem, is getting out of class and getting out of school and coming down and putting on your uniform. And then they actually had a few injuries too. Some of their better players were injured, but again, that's like kind of part of being lucky. Like, so they were good enough to make the tournament, but then they were unlucky enough to have to travel so far and have a few injuries. And then we just capitalized. Again, we had guys that could really put the ball in the back of the net. And then when we get those opportunities, sometimes it happened in bunches too. All of a sudden, it would be like, 1 goal, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 goals right in a row. And then it's difficult for other teams, if they're not also resilient, to be able to battle back from that. And it was nice to have that kind of offensive hammer to be able to knock out teams early, or even in the second half, be able to, teams that are playing with us, to be able to, put together 4, 5, 6, 7 goals in a row, to either stop runs or create these situations that make it very difficult for the other side to recover from.
Yeah, next round, Drake, it was the loss during the regular season on any of the players or your mind at all?
Oh, I think for the players, it was a great opportunity to have a second chance. They're not in our league. They're not our traditional rivalry, although I think it now is. And like I said, it was a 6-5 loss, and we had the ball at the end. And I think everyone felt like we hadn't played our best game, and we hadn't done all the things that we thought we had been able to do. And so to have them come back and play on our field in the second round was great. And again, they played really well. Drake did. They played their zone. They were very successful. They did a lot of different things on defense to try to slow us down. And every time we felt like we were getting a little momentum, we'd make a mistake or they'd make a play, and it would be like, we'd have an opportunity to go up 2 or 3 goals, but the goalie would make a save, or we'd hit the pipe, or we'd just miss the net by a little bit, or we'd drop the ball on the doorstep. And so there was these situations too where I felt like given another opportunity, we could have put a few more of those in, maybe been able to put a few more of those goals in, but we didn't. And so we ended up, it was a 4-quarter battle all the way to the end, 9-6. I don't think that anyone felt comfortable until the whistle blew.
Yeah.
So
how did the team pull off the win, really? Was it the resilience of the team? Was it Sloan winning face-offs? What was it?
Oh, it was a combination of all of those things. It was the fact that we were able to, again, hold them to, we feel like if we can hold the team to 6 goals, our offense should score. Our offense averaged almost 15 goals a game. And so if even if you're conservative, right? So if you hold a team to 6 goals, you feel like you should be at least able to score enough to get a victory on that day. And so we just knew that if we just kept getting our offense the ball, that they would produce enough opportunities to score. And then again, they did. Because we had so many guys that are able to finish, that eventually, given them enough opportunities, we're going to put the ball in the back of the net. And that's what they did enough times.
Yeah, last game of the season, Falmouth 18-9. Not to rub salt in the wound, but like, what happened with you guys?
So no salt in the wound. They earned it. Falmouth earned it. They were a good team, and they didn't make very many mistakes. And so, again, at that level, there's only good teams left. And so usually the team that makes the fewer mistakes will come out on top. And they made a few mistakes early on, and it was like 3-1 us. We scored right off the bat. Jake Sloan won the face-off, went down, scored. And then we got the ball back, and I think we scored again. And then it was like they scored. Then it was like 3-1. And then or 4-1, and then they ended up, at that point, they kind of stopped making mistakes, and then we started making mistakes. And so it was this kind of combination of situations where some of the stuff that we hadn't really struggled with all year kind of reared its ugly head. Like, we hadn't really had any problems clearing the ball, and we made a few clearing mistakes, and those cost us. Like, every time that we made a turnover, they scored. So again, those rebound situations, those ground ball situations, we have the ball, we don't get a shot, we end up giving them the ball, and so they get a second chance at it, or a third chance, or a fourth chance. And like I said, they're a good team. They also scored a ton of goals. And so if you give a good team good looks often enough, they're going to find the back of the net, no matter how good your goalie is, no matter how good your defense is. And then we get the ball down in offense, and I think, although I don't know, it felt this way, that when we got the opportunities, we then felt like we had to capitalize on every single one. And instead of playing unselfish, loose lacrosse, I don't think that they were like selfish in regards to like, I have to do this. I think they felt like they had to do it. And so like maybe instead of making the next pass, they ended up trying to take a ill-advised shot, or, you know, dodged into too many guys or something like that. And I think that's where you learn from it. And so I think that if the trajectory holds true, like this would be a nice learning opportunity for them, because we were good enough to play with Falmouth, but we weren't good enough to play with them on that day. We just made too many mistakes, because again, they're a good team, they're a strong team, they had a good defense, they also had a good midfield line, and they had a strong attack that was able to score. And when you have that, you make too many mistakes, the other team gets to play, and they just played well enough. If we look ahead, they played Scituate, which was the next round, which was the final four. They played to a 1-goal game, and it's like, I think we felt like we were good enough to play with them. We just didn't play well enough on that day, and Falmouth did. Like we know that we were there. We just didn't make enough plays on the day that it mattered most. But that doesn't mean that they won't be able to get back there in the future. So I think it's a harbinger of good things, which is nice. Again, it's humbling. Like, they're so good, they're so talented. To watch them play, you know, I get all the credit for all their hard work, which is ridiculous, because the harder they work and the more talented they are, the more they win, the more it looks like it has something to do with me. And really, it's just that the better athletes, the better talent.
Yeah.
That usually does a pretty good job. Just roll out the balls, and the better team will win, most likely, usually. And
what did you tell the team after the loss?
You know what? Every year, only in Massachusetts, 4 teams get to end the year in a win that matters. Like, if you get to end your year in a win, it means that you didn't play in the tournament. And so otherwise, if you end your season on a win, you've won the state tournament. So everyone else loses. Everyone else who has a stake in it ends up losing. Either your bus ride is long, like ours was, or it's short, like it could be like an easy loss, travel time. So when you get back, you unfortunately, that's it, the season's over, and it's the last time that team will ever be together in that form. Like, it really is. It's like they'll see each other outside of that. The juniors and the sophomores and the freshmen will play again. But that team will never exist any, and now it's history. And so you mentioned that, and you kind of highlight all the successes they had, and you kind of recognize the sacrifice and the victories earned, the hard earned, and then you identify all the things that they did to get to where they are. Because again, it's not an accident. It's not they don't just find themselves there. They take all these small incremental steps to get to where they are and be successful. Man, they work hard. They work so hard in the off season, in season. It's just really it's so much fun. So much fun being able to coach such a great, talented group of athletes.
Yeah, and what was your biggest goal for the year, and how did you guys achieve that goal?
I think that we, as a staff and as a team, felt like we had enough talent and enough hard work to be able to compete at that end of the season level. And so I think that we felt like we could have gone further. I don't think any of us think that the success we've had was, I don't think we expected to have the most goals scored in the history of the program, but it was great. But it was also an outcome of, like, it almost, again, it seemed inevitable. Like there was so much talent and they got the ball so often and they were so good at putting the ball in the back of the net that those things were going to happen. I think that at the end of the day, the 16 wins was the most that any team had won, and like those guys did it. That team did it, and so like that's great. Like that's the new bottom. All these successes that they've had back-to-back Middlesex League titles, like that's now the bottom. Like those are like expectation levels, and it's like so everyone who's coming up and the juniors and the sophomores and the freshmen know that that's like next year you have to, achieve or move the program further on. So success-wise, I think that it's just like another step forward and another like benchmark or step in the ascension.
Yeah, and you work with Ryan Doherty, Coach Dots, assisted on the team. How do you two work together to make sure everything runs smoothly?
Well, he's great. He hates when people talk about him publicly. So if he hears this, he's going to be mortified. But so he has done a very intricate and essential dance between the youth program and the high school and bridging that gap. This junior class was state champs when they were in 7th or 8th grade. And so he's been around them this whole time. And there's another group of players coming up and another group of players coming up. And it's not an accident that they're starting to win. It's not an accident. And that's because of the youth program. And I know that Dots talks a whole bunch about being involved and how important it is, and he knows that. And he's talked to a lot of other coaches in the state to try to like pull, how did you do it? What did you do to get to where you are? And so then he's mimicking that. And then this is the result from that kind of plan. And then on the sidelines, it's great. We all kind of check our egos at the door, and it's when you do that, it's hard not to be able to work together. When it doesn't matter who is doing what, is because everyone's kind of pulling in the same direction. It's great, and it's great working with him. It's great working with all of them. There's so many, and he's an alum. He played here, and now he coaches here, and he is he's instrumental to the success of the program. He's back building all of the data for the last 50 years for the season, for the history of the program. He's gonna, try to be the librarian or the caretaker of all this information, which is nice. And he's young, so like it's his future, the program's future, long way to go. Yeah.
Burlington High celebrated 50 years of boys lax. What kind of a milestone like that? What does that mean to you?
It's just to be again. It's great to be part of it and really just kind of be being able to carry it a little bit, just a little bit of a way, because it came so far before I ever got here. And then it will go beyond when I leave. It's just great to being part of that. It's such a good, rich tradition. There's so many alumni who have come back and I've met just over the last 6 years, but really 4.5 seasons because of the COVID situation. It's just, you can see how proud they are to have played for Burlington and how much they enjoy seeing these guys have this success. Knowing that that the team stands on the shoulders of giants like before them, like 50 years. It doesn't happen in 1 year, in one season. It takes 50 years to get to 50 years, and it's nice. And I always tell Dots, I'm always like, it was so nice to be adopted by the Burlington High School lacrosse family, and they've allowed me to be part of it because it really is, it's their program, and in some ways like you're just like a steward,
And what are you going to miss from the 2024 graduates?
So I was talking to Charlie Andriola, and I was saying that, and James Ellis, like I can't even imagine us having a team without them on it. And that, again, just is my small little window of coaching here with them. But like, they've just always been there. They've just always been there. Like next year, I can't believe Charlie's not going to be on the field scoring goals for us. He's just been such a big presence for so long. And then, like I talked about, like having Trey, who's an Olympic level athlete, be able to come back and to be so selfless, just the most humble kid, and to be willing to shelve all of that talent that he has in success in skiing, and then just to be part of the program and the team in any way he could. It was just really, I'm still amazed by it, to have how much he was able to give of his skill and talent in practice and games at whatever we asked of him, whatever level. And then, like I said, having Mitch DeVoe come out, never play, and then at the end of the year, like being able to play at the high level that he could. Like he was playing, in the Elite Eight against a very good team and having success. That was so great. And then Liam Welch coming back after missing out on 2 years, or not being here for 2 years, doing other things. It was so nice having those 5 guys to come to end that season with them. And there's no replacing them, and we don't have to replace them, which is the great thing. And then now they're all part of that family. They graduate, that team's never going to be together again, but now they'll always be part of the 50 years of lacrosse here in Burlington. They joined that family, which is nice.
And what can we expect next year from Browns Lacrosse?
Well, again, talk about trajectory and talking about what this junior class is, who are now going to be seniors, what they're capable of. If they continue to work like they've worked for the last 3 years, they're going to put themselves in the same opportunity. They're going to have that same opportunity to, be able to host home games, to be able to maybe go the next step. And it's like, I know that every year the state changes, right? So I don't know where we'll end up in our division. Probably end up in 3 again, but I don't know that. But I know that Medfield, they had a fantastic season this year. They had a whole bunch of seniors and they all graduated. So there's space, there's room for another team. And when you have guys like Nolan Jennings, who had 97 points, which is just remarkable as a midfielder. You have guys like Jason Kane, who was injured for us and was still able to put in I think it was 60 or 70 points. He got 7 against against Martha's Vineyard in a playoff game. I think he ended up having 11 goals in the playoffs. It was just so much talent. Quinn McDonald in net. Jake Sloan at the face-off X. It's so important to have a good face-off guy. And what's great about Jake is that he's not just a face-off guy, that he can play the game. He can flat out play lacrosse, which is so good. He's such a great defender, and he's such a great offensive player. And then he does this one specific thing that is so important to possession in the game. It is such a comfort to know that when we go out for the face-off, which is a 50-50 opportunity, it's not a 50-50 because we have Jake out there. And so it's able, we're okay, it's maybe it's a 60-40, maybe it's a 75-25. And sometimes it was an 80-20. Sometimes it was just automatic. Ours, boom, make it, take it. And it becomes really difficult for another team to play when they don't have the ball. Possession is 9/10 of the law in this case. It really is. And so that's nice. And it's just such a strong junior class. It really is. And there's strong sophomores. We had great freshmen this year. Daniel Hannafin, he missed 3 or 4 games and he still had 70 or 77 points. And he has such a knack for finding the back of the net, and he got almost all of his goals people passing him the ball, which seems obvious, but he as soon as this defender turned his head, he'd cut and he'd find himself open. And if you threw it near him and he was in front of the cage, there's a good chance you were getting an assist because he was good at scoring that. And he did a great job with that. So it's nice. Chris DeLeva did an amazing job. He was both long stick midi for 2 years, but as his junior year, he was an in-close defender, not because he couldn't do that anymore, but rather because we needed him in close. He still went up on the face-off X and got ground balls for us during face-offs. And then we had another junior who joined this year, John Mello, who was he's a football cornerback and a receiver, and he played defensive midi for us. And it was so nice to see him by the end of the year, not unlike Mitch DeVoe, who had showed up and never played before, and kind of by the end of the season, like just really high level lacrosse. Max Levitt is a 3-year player, and he's a defensive midi for us, but he's a defensive midi for the last 3 years, and he was almost like he was like James Ellis with the clears. They would take a shot, Quinn would make the save, and it was almost automatic that Quinn would look up and see Max running down the field, hit Max would clear the ball down the field, either for a fast break or for offensive possession. And the great thing about having Max on the field is that he plays defensive midi for us, but he's as talented as all of our offensive players. So it's like we just had to get him off the field because he can't do both. It's so hard running up and down that field as midfielders. Some of our best midfielders don't get to play both ways. Max is a great offensive player, but he plays defense. Nolan is a great defensive player, but he plays offense. And it's just so much fun when you have guys that you can trust out there in any situation, because it's become a little bit specialized. It's nice. But yeah, so like that junior class is great. And then the freshman class coming in is really large too, and I know they have a lot of talent as well, and so that kind of will support it. And then, like I said, there's freshmen and sophomores that were able to do that. I know another junior was like Mike DiPietro, who was, again, a great utility player. We could put him out there on offense, could put him out there on defense. I think he ended up having a couple dozen goals for us this year. I think he got the first goal of the year for us, the very first goal, which was so nice. And I know that he works really hard. Underclassmen who are going to help out. We had David Hannafin, and we had Aiden Shanahan. Both were freshmen. Both were able to play, contribute. Ryan McWhinney, who's a sophomore, did a fantastic job for us this year. Ryan Ellis, who I know plays football and basketball, also did a wonderful job. He was a long stick midi for us. So many. I feel like I'm going to leave someone out, and I don't mean to be. Brendan DeRosa really did a great job for us this year as a freshman. Found his way early on. Kind of got lost a little bit at it, but then on the end came back, and it was nice to see that. Yeah, it was great. It was great. And who knows who's going to show up next year in regards to athletes in the building who decide that they want to play. We always end up having one senior join who's never played before, who ends up making a huge contribution by the end of the season. And that's a lot of fun. You never know. It's always like a mystery. Who's it going to be this year? And this year we had two. We had Mello as a junior and Mitch as a senior. Really
awesome.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great year.
Oh, they're so good. They're so good. Wyatt Condon was also a face-off and a midfielder, and he was our backup goalie, and he's great. But again, he reminds me of a lot like Trey in that way. Like, I'm like, Wyatt, if we need a backup goalie, we need someone to, just in case Quinn got hurt or a penalty. And he's like, absolutely. And it's like, that's so great, because you want good athletes to play your most important position, and goalie, there's no more important position than goalie. And Wyatt did a great job. He was Jake's backup, and he was Quinn's backup. And to be the backup for two really important positions is a true testament to how talented he is. And then, like, Aiden Shanahan was he was a backup to Wyatt on the face-offs. Then he ended up playing long stick midi and did a great job. We gave him a pole about 3/4 of the way through the season, and he just kind of like fish to water. He just took it and was perfect with it. So that's nice.
Yeah, it was a great season, Coach.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just thinking about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I can see all these moments in practice, mostly in practice, not even in games, in practice, where you can see him make this progress, and it's just so much fun. Such a game. I love the game so much, and so when I see them, who they played at such a higher level in high school than I ever did at any point in my career, it's so nice to watch them play the game. They're so good at it. It's such a beautifully violent sport.
Well, thank you, Coach. Enjoy your summer. I know
thank
it was
you.
a long, successful season.
Yeah,
We'll
it was
be
a lot
right
of
back.
fun. A lot of fun.
Let's check out this month's Player Spotlight.
I'm Nolan Jennings, and this is the Player Spotlight. This season, I think we've gotten a lot better. I think our practices have been really good this year, and we do what we do in practice in the games, and helped us a lot. I'm really grateful to get that. I feel like I've been doing very good, but it's nice to be recognized by all the coaches. All the coaches have been awesome this year. I feel like they've been super supportive, and they know a lot, and it's good to learn from them. All the other guys, I think we've gotten really tight this year. I think that's been a big part of our success, is we're a family here, and we've gotten really close this year. The seniors helped me along a lot. I mean, their leadership and everything, they've just been awesome this year.
As a team and as a coaching staff, we couldn't ask for a better player. And the great thing about Nolan is that he has teammates of players that are like-minded just like him. So it's great. It makes coaching very easy.
I just like how you can be creative. It releases your stress. It's just fun.
All right, I'm here with junior captain Nolan Jennings. Nolan, how are we doing today?
Doing good.
And let's just start from the beginning. When did you start playing lacrosse?
I've played lacrosse pretty much my whole life. I was a big baseball player though up till 8th grade, and then I switched over completely and started focusing on lacrosse.
Yeah, what do you like about lacrosse?
I think it's just really I love being with all the guys. I think that's the best part of it, is just the teammates and all that.
Yeah, and what position do you play, and what do you like about your position?
I played midfield. I like it because I can go up and down the field. I can play defense, I can play offense. I can basically just go wherever I want.
And what's your favorite thing about being a Burlington Red Devil?
My favorite thing, honestly, I think again is just the teammates, all the guys. I think it's just fun being with them.
And you finished the season 14-4. You won the Middlesex League title for a second year in a row. How does that feel to have a successful season?
It feels really good. I think our freshman year we were pretty good, but I think we really stepped it up the year before and this year, obviously. It felt really good to win the title again.
And as an athlete on the team, was it successful in your eyes?
Yeah, I think we had a really successful season. I think a lot of it came from being a close team, and I think we did really good this year.
Yeah, and did you have a favorite game from the regular season?
I'd say I didn't really have a favorite game from the regular season. I think playoffs.
Playoffs is a big one.
Yeah.
And speaking of playoffs, just go through each game one by one, your performance and team's performance. Martha's Vineyard.
Martha's Vineyard, I think we started off really quick. We scored first possession. I think it was just getting out front, not letting them come back in that game.
And then Drake.
That was a big game. We lost to them first game we played this
5-4.
season. Yep, very low scoring game. We didn't score too much in the second game, but I think defense helped us out a lot, and we were able to win the second one.
And then Falmouth.
Falmouth, I thought we started off pretty good. We slowed down a little bit. Defense kind of slowed down, but I think it was a good game overall. Just couldn't end up winning.
And being the junior captain, what's your experience in a leadership role?
I think it's really good. I think I grew a lot this year, learning how to bring the newer guys in and make them feel part of the team, but it was fun.
Yeah, and what did you say to motivate the guys?
I think most of my leadership came from being me and playing and showing them how hard I work and just letting them follow.
And how did you help the underclassmen become better athletes?
I think almost the same thing, just showing them what I do and having them follow my lead.
Yeah, and how has Coach Maney guided you in your 3 years?
Coach Maney guided me a lot. I was a freshman year, I played a little bit, and he always believed in me and kind of led me on to become a better player.
Yeah, and what's it like working with Coach Dots?
Coach Dots is really good. He's kind of a guy I can go to whatever I need. He's just always there for something. I love it.
And what have you learned from Dots and Maney together as like a duo?
Together, I think they've helped me a lot with lacrosse, obviously, and they're just always there for me, make me a better player.
Yeah, and you'll be returning next season. What do you bring to the table as a senior?
As a senior, I just want to make a better season than we did this year. I think every season we've gotten better and better, and I just want to keep that going.
And I know it's really early. What can we expect from Brenden Lacrosse next year?
Brenden Lacrosse, I think win the Middlesex league again, and hopefully go even deeper in the playoffs next year.
And I know school just ended, but any college plans yet?
Not totally yet.
Not totally?
No.
Do you have an idea of where you're going to go?
Not really. I'm just hoping.
Would it be for a sport?
Yeah, it would be for
lacrosse.
lacrosse.
For a sport, yeah. All right, thank you, Nolan.
All right, thank you.
That's all for this episode. I'd like to thank my guests, Brenden Maney and Nolan Jennings. I'd also like to thank you all for watching. And until next time, I'm Anthony Matos for BNEWS Sports Hub.